You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Well, here's my thing. Getting back to the body shaming gimmick is that because I feel like all athletes come in different shapes and sizes. Myself, you can't say that an NFL offensive lineman is not an athlete because they're built basically how I am. They're bigger guys with a gut. They're not walking around with six packs at 265. It's just not feasible. And I made the point, and this is for both of y'all. I made the point that if body looks and aesthetics was such a huge deal when it came to fans, then why isn't most bodybuilding contests or even the Mr. Olympia a mainstream event? Why is it a very small niche event with a couple of thousand fans, with maybe, at the max, they might get 8,000 fans. While, a sport such as tennis, where guys don't have muscles whatsoever, draws hundreds, if not thousands of fans. The same with soccer. What do you guys think about something like that? Mika, I'll go to you first.
The thing about it is because the difference between bodybuilding and tennis is, again, I think more people feel that tennis is a sport that they could actually do. They see personalities and skills within those tennis players that they recognize in themselves. Where bodybuilding, it is literally just so physical. Your body has to be molded and shaped in the discipline and the training that they do in order to get their bodies into that physique. It's just not something that the average normal person looks in the mirror and goes, you know what, I feel like today I could be, a bodybuilder. They're not. They're just like, hey, I want to eat that cheeseburger. And I feel like a tennis player, they run off the calories and all that loveliness, but I could take a racket and hit a ball. Nobody's going to say anything about, those two things are so separate to the point where it's like, who wants to be a bodybuilder? Who wants to look like that? That, for the average person, doesn't seem normal. It seems so extraordinarily difficult to achieve where, hey, tennis, again, I picked up a racket. I can hit a ball. Congratulations. I am the new Venus, I feel like that's how people kind of look at that, where the body image is important because you have to be in a certain shape, of course, for tennis, but people's mind's eye, they don't think about that. They just think about the fact that, hey, this could be something easy and it's something entertaining that I can watch and get into.
All right, Steve, your thoughts.
I agree with that 100%. That's definitely saying is that I think what she's trying to look for is that it's relatable. It's relatable to anybody in the world, basically. Because what's the first word if you ask any random person on the street in New York City? If I ask them what's the first word when you look at this guy and you show Phil Heath? They're probably gonna say steroids. It's the very first word. And it's unbelievable. It's steroids. This guy will never be looking like that without steroids. I'm not a fitness expert. I'm not a nosy expert. I do follow it. But I think that also another big difference between the two is that the fitness industry, Olympia especially, they don't advertise at all on TV. They don't really advertise anywhere in the news unless someone has died. That's the only time they advertise it, and then they say no one knows if it's linked to steroids or anything like that. That's the only time they advertise it. When someone dies, like a bodybuilder dies, that's the only time they advertise it. But other than that, Olympia, they'll never advertise it. So one, no one really knows about it, even though on Instagram, it's like a big Instagram thing. But other than that, it's not really relatable to the normal person.
Now, Mika, I'm going to go ahead because I know you have questions and things that you may want to talk about with our guests tonight. So, unfortunately, Manny, I'm going to have to hand it over to my colleague, Mika Villas. Mika, what do you got for him?
Well, let's go back to something you said earlier because I wanted you to explain for people listening who may not understand. You used the term TV ready. What does it mean to be TV ready?
When someone comes up to you, if I come up to a random wrestler and they say, oh, I can do promos. I'm like, oh, yeah? Give me a minute promo right now. Ready? Go. And they give you a duh face. And I'm looking at them for a good 10 seconds. I'm looking at my watch again. Or on my phone. You have 50 seconds. And they just still give me that duh face. I'm like, I thought you said you could do promos. So give me one. You have 35 seconds. And then they just don't know what to say. Like, you don't know how to do promos. You should be able to do a promo when someone asks you to do a promo. You should already have an idea for what you want to say in an introductory promo of someone who who doesn't really know who you are. That's number one. You just have to know how to do a basic entry-level promo of introducing yourself, with the promotion you're going to or in, where it is, etc. Give a basic promo. You can't do that, you're not TV ready. If you're not in the shape you're supposed to be in, if you're not in ring shape, if you're not in actual shape that justifies, I guess, the promotion itself, you're not TV ready. If you can't work a basic 5-minute match, not on the fly, because not everyone can do it, because these days you don't have to work on the fly. But if you can't work a basic 5-minute match, telling a story, all you have to do is tell a story, have good footwork, and work the camera, work the hard cam. You can't do those 3 simple things, you're not TV ready.
Now,
I can go on and on. Having gear that's not having like a washed out look. Having gear that is not generic. Having gear that actually makes you stand out. So if I am watching something on TV and I like to just say generic things. So that's I think the best example is Lucha Underground, because Lucha Underground has the most unique and standout attire out of anyone in wrestling, because everyone is unique. Everyone has their own specific character that everyone, I don't think can relate to, but that can understand. So when you have the Drago, so you have that's the dragon guy. Anything with the dragon, gonna have on. It's gonna look so cool. It's different. It's different. No one has seen it before. It looks professional. Now, professional. What does that mean? It means having colors, preferably, that someone else doesn't have. Having it professionally done, not having like stitches out, things like that. Having those, having some type of shine so it reflects off the lights always helps. It never hurts having that. It looks amazing on camera. And it has to just fit you. It can't just be tight in person. It has to be one whole unit.
Now, Steve, let me ask you a question. Because the argument that started it all was in my opinion, was a throwaway comment on like a 2-hour long podcast. Do you feel, what was your thoughts when you heard about the Meltzer comment about Peyton Royce? Because I tell you the truth, I felt like he was talking about her breast enhancement. She had a boob job for the most part, and that he was saying that he thought that she stood out when she was in NXT because she wasn't surgically enhanced like every other WWE diva, and that made her different, and that's what he liked about her. Did he have a right to comment about her? And if he did he just use a poor choice of words?
No, because that's something that's out of your control. That's the problem with these people who have supposed opinions. It's out of your control. It's not going to change her abilities. There's other people. I don't know if he's watched wrestling, because I feel like he hasn't. He just picks on people. I don't know if he actually watches wrestling, but there's someone who's why is this guy even looking at me like that? The guy's looking at me like, why am I talking to myself? There's a female on TV right now that has a boob job, but I don't need to mention names. You can probably figure out who it is. It's probably like the hottest chick on TV right now. But she had a boob job, and he's not saying anything to her. So it's kind of funny how he only singles out one person. But
it was the fact that they were talking about her, about something, about her pushing, her coming up to the main roster, and so that's what she had been doing in the main roster, and the whole women's evolution movement. That's why her name was brought up.
Well, it doesn't matter. That's just the look, and it's not. It's wrestling. That's what we have to start getting focused on. Wrestling. Focus on the wrestling ability. And everyone's always talking about, women shouldn't be wrestlers, this and that, but then they focus on other things other than the wrestling. Focus on the wrestling.
Now, Mika,
that's what we do. We wrestle.
Now, Mika, I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you the same question because, A, you're a female. B, you're a huge fan of female wrestling. Same question. What is your opinion about that?
When I heard it, I thought that the man had totally lost his mind. Here is somebody who's supposed to be taken as a serious wrestling journalist, somebody who's supposed to cover wrestling, the ins and the outs, the ups and the downs, professional and what have you, talking about a female's appearance due to his perception of her body, that because her body was one way, she was better than she is now, or better. And I can't even think about it. It was so baffling. I was hoping at first that, like sometimes happens, that the internet perhaps took something out of context, or that it was years and years and years ago. But no, it was recent. It was out of his mouth, fresh, and the words were there. I thought that was incredibly insensitive. It was unprofessional, and it just threw me back to the quote unquote old days where it was okay for people to talk about any and everybody about your size, your shape, your color, your creed, your religion. It was just one of those ignorant remarks where I expected some backwater to be making that remark, and I go, are you serious? Are you kidding? How dare he? People burn people down on a regular basis for something less than this. And here this person who is supposed to be, respected by his peers and people in his circle just opens his mouth and says these words like it's no big deal with no thinking. It baffled me. It didn't hurt my feelings. It just made me realize how truly backwards some people's thinking is, and how much further we have to come just as human beings to just say, hey, listen, that's not cool. It doesn't matter. You shouldn't think like that. Those thoughts should never come out of somebody's mouth. They should.
Well, I got to disagree with the first part. The very, very first part you said, wrestling journalist. There's no such thing. There's just no such thing as that. He has never wrestled in his life. I know everyone has an opinion, and that's totally fine. But commenting on someone, if it has to do with someoe's abilities, and you can tell, after this surgery, she's slowed down, and you can definitely tell she's blowing up. She can't pick this person up after, a simple 5-minute match. I get that. I can get that 100%. But wrestling journalist, he's farthest from it. He hasn't ever taken a bump in his life. Professional has peers. I don't even know what peers he has. I feel like he honestly does that so people can go listen to it, and so he can still stay relevant.
Well, I don't even
want to talk about. I don't even know if you want to talk about these so-called 5-star matches that he portrays, or 6-star matches. I won't even get into that, but I'm just saying.
He's never taken a bump. He's never taken a bump. I'm calling him what he appears to claim that he is himself. I've never taken a bump, but I'm a wrestling commentator.
Well, Skip Bayless is a sports journalist, and as far as I know, he's never shot a 3-pointer or never scored a touchdown in an NFL game. But he's still considered credible. So let's take that out of context, because me, myself, personally, I hate when wrestlers in particular get very offended when somebody who is not a wrestler critiquing them by saying, well, they've never taken a bump. Yeah, well, guess what? I've never thrown a pass and been in an NFL game, but I can wholeheartedly say that Brett Favre is one of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time. Because I've been watching football my whole life. So let's take that out.
But you're not calling yourself an NFL advisor.
No, I'm not.
There's a difference. He's calling himself a wrestling journalist. He's not. He's not. He's not a journalist. He's just a guy who just wants to be more known.
I consider him more of a wrestling critic.
And say stupid crap like that.
I consider him more of a wrestling critic. He's like wrestling's version of Siskel and Ebert. People respect them, and the movies they like, I probably will never watch, and the movies they shit on are some of my favorite movies.
Right.
Now, what would you like? Go ahead and finish your thought. I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that.
That's fine. What would you say? I didn't hear you.
Oh, no, I'm saying you can go ahead and finish your thought. We were talking about, did Meltzer have a right to say anything, and you got off about the fact that he's
that's what I have to say. I just want to make sure I get that. He's not. He's not a critic. I mean, he's just a guy who just wants to stay relevant in some way, shape, or form, saying stupid crap when there's other people that honestly had boob jobs in the past and nothing is ever said. He never questioned it. It's just stupid. Honestly, it's a dumb comment you can say.
Now let's get back to the subject at hand, because we have this thing that nobody's never really talking about. Nobody's talking about how wrestling in particular body shames men in the industry, how we put so much stress on male wrestlers to look like an Adonis no matter what. And I'm going to tell you right now, my wife does not like the muscular, Phil Heath look. My wife is a chubby chaser. She likes them big and fluffy, period. And there's a lot of females, a lot of people out there who like big guys who just look tough, but they don't actually have to be muscular. What do we have to do as not only wrestlers and commentators, but as people involved in the wrestling business to have our own, I guess, big man revolution when it comes to body shaming? Is there such thing? Manny, I'm asking you first. Yes.
Well, It's all perception, and you can't please everybody. That's number one. You're never going to please everybody. There's always going to be someone who's going to have some kind of stupid comment to say about your physique, even though you probably have the best physique in the world.
But here's the thing. You don't see, and that's why I want to start this discussion, because people always say, well, you can't change people's opinion. But the problem is that we've changed the opinion when it comes to females in wrestling. You don't see, you don't, very rarely do you hear anybody talk about Jessica Havoc's size or Nia Jax. Nobody will, besides WWE, when they call Mickey James Piggy James and stuff. But it's looked down upon. No, it should not be different, though. It's a different animal. But should it be?
We look at women different than we look at men. It's as simple as that.
But it should
It's as simple as that. I know it shouldn't be, but that's just how the media and everyone looks at it. How we look at what a woman's in shape supposed to look like. If you ask a random person on the street, which is usually the general public, when you ask them what is a woman supposed to look like, and you give them 2 pictures, or you give them like 3 pictures, you give them like a thin woman, then you give them a bodybuilder woman, that actually like you see like on stages, and then you see just an average woman, like just any average cute woman on the street, and then you probably maybe can see like a little heavier woman. I guarantee they're gonna pick out the more ideal woman is gonna be the heavier woman or the average looking woman, like the third picture. Not the first, like maybe the first one, the third one, and the fourth one. You're probably never ever gonna get the second one. The ideal woman is not supposed to look like that. It's just how it is. Now, if you say, all right, what is a wrestling woman supposed to like? What should a wrestling woman look like? Then they probably will pick second choice or the third choice, and maybe some will pick the fourth choice in that order.
Now, my question is,